morning. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so very happy that you're here today. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial video. This is part of the Simpson Turnpike knit along. This is the Ashton Shawlette. The pattern is by the very talented Dee O'Keefe. We have been, this is a collaboration, a knit along collaboration with Linda Simpson of Linda Simpson's Crochet Nook. And she and I are teaching you how to knit a lace shawl using a charted pattern. Linda and I have been trading off responsibilities. Today we'll be talking about chart 3, which I will be working on to teach you how to knit. It's mostly going to be showing my hands, but I wanted just to give a little quick hello before we get into it and welcome you guys in. Grab something to drink and you're knitting, and let's get started. Alright, we are here to do chart 3 of the Ashton Shawlette. The pattern is by Dee O'Keefe. This is the shawl. We've done charts 1, 2, and we're now in 2A, and now we're doing chart 3. This is a little bit longer chart. This is the second time in this shawl pattern where you can increase the size of your shawl if you want to do that. If you want to make your shawl bigger, you can repeat rows 15 through 24 multiple times to give additional leaf patterns to the edge of your shawl. You must make sure you have enough yarn to do that. I have it printed a little bit bigger here, and the one thing you need to remember is that if you're going to increase your shawl, it says, how many times do I work the blue shaded repeat sections across each side? Now, if you are doing the shawl just exactly the way it is written, you did 5 repeats of chart 2, and that was 5 repeats of the blue shaded section. You did chart 2A, which means 6 repeats of the blue shaded section. Now when you're in chart 3, you'll have 7 repeats of the blue shaded section. Now for myself, I did chart 2 7 times. So I have to, since it would normally be 7 repeats, and I did it 2 additional repeats, I would do 7 plus 2, and that means I would have 9 repeats of the blue shaded section. So you add 7 plus however many additional repeats you did in chart 2 of the blue, how many additional repeats, you add that to 7, and that's how many times you will repeat the blue shaded section for chart 3. I hope that's clear. If it's not, please don't hesitate to email us or put questions or comments down below, or you can post in the Facebook group, which is also in the description box. How much more yarn will you use if you choose to increase your shawl by doing these rows 15 through 24 repeats? For the 6X size, so like if you did it one more time, so like you did 5 repeats of chart 2 and you are now to this part and you say you want to do one additional repeat of chart 3, rows 15 through 24, you're going to need about 475 to 500 yards. So that's about additional 75 to 80 yards. For the 7X size, you're going to need about 550 to 575 yards. For the 8X size, about 625 to 650 yards. For the 9X size, about 700 to 725 yards. It says if you are adding more leaves, you consider each row of leaves another jump up in size. For example, if you work the 7X size on the body, which is what I did, and 2 extra rows of leaves, figure out that you would use a little bit less than the 9X size. The 9X size is 700 to 725 yards. I have 694 yards in my yarn, so that's what I want to do, is 2 extra rows of leaves. So I'm going to also show you how I'm going to measure this with a scale, just to ensure that I do get enough. It says the yardage references above are only estimates used when using fingering or sock weight yarn. If you're using worsted weight or DK weight, these might be different. That's why I'm going to show you how to use a kitchen scale or a yarn scale. I'm going to weigh my yarn. I weighed my yarn before I got started. I have 84 grams left in my skein. I have 388.64 yards left in my skein to do charts 3, any additional repeats of chart 3, and chart 4, and a bind off. So I'm going to weigh my yarn again. I'm going to do it before row 15 the first time, after row 24 the first time, and see how much yarn I use for rows 15 to 24, and then I'm going to see how many additional repeats I can do, estimate. So we'll see. I'll show you that as we get there. I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit, and also talk about how you can increase your shawl if you here in this chart if you want to. The other thing I want to mention is that if you are doing your shawl at the way that the pattern's written, where you did 5 repeats of chart 2 and you're just going to do 1 repeat of chart 3, the chart 3 row counts are here on page 10 of the pattern. And just want to point out there, you know how we've been going along and like each row increases by 4 stitches because of the 2 yarn overs at the beginning and end of each row. And then you do that twice. Don't forget, this is just half of the shawl, so that counts for 4 stitches, and you see how it goes up 4 stitch increases every row. But there are some rows where you're going to get, like right here, row 11 to row 13, that is a 8 stitch jump. So there are a couple of places in here that are larger than 4 stitch increases. So it is always best, when you're trying to figure out your stitch count, is to break it down per the chart. You know you have so many stitches here. Just count the number of squares and get the number. You know how many repeats you have, and that counts for that. That's kind of why I like to use stitch markers to help keep that straight. And then you know how many stitches you have after that last repeat before you get to the center, or before you get to the last 2 edge stitches. Reading the chart is very important, and it keeps me on track. I know right here there's a highlighted section from Dee O'Keefe which says use of stitch markers for marking off pattern repeats is not recommended for charts 3 and 4 due to the necessity of moving the markers back and forth to accommodate decreases or yarn overs falling on either side of the pattern repeats in many places. And I agree with that. It says the specific location of the pattern repeats within the lace pattern was chosen for ease of memorization rather than to accommodate stitch markers. It says if you take care to notice how the current row is lining up over the previous right side row, you won't even need these. Trust her. And it says check out the lace shawl knitting tips on page 11 for more details. And I agree. She's right. If you make sure everything's lining up properly, you don't even need them. But I like them, and I'm going to continue to use them, even though I'm going to have to be holding them out and then putting them back in. That's just how I prefer it, because it helps me double check my stitch counts and make sure that I'm not missing a stitch here or there. But it is totally up to you, and I wanted to point that out before I started to get into the knitting. I'm sorry this is a lot of talking before we get into the knitting, but I did want to point all of this stuff out. There's one more thing I need to mention before we get to the knitting. Now, if you were doing this Shawlette and you were doing a worsted weight version, now the way she recommended doing a worsted weight, and some people that are doing DK weight are doing this worsted weight version, she recommended that you only do chart 2 2 times. and all of the other charts are worked one time. So it says for each additional chart to repeat worked, you use 100 to 125 more yards. And then it says, it does say that you can add more leaves, like we just talked about. So that would be chart 3. Basically, you would repeat rows 15 to 24 like I'm going to show you. So she does say you can do that option. So you could add an extra row of leaves, which is rows 15 to 24 in chart 3, except that you're going to add 125 yards if you add an extra repeat of those leaves. So you need to make sure you have enough yarn to do that before you get started. So you'll want to take a look at how much yarn you started with or how much yarn you have left, and make sure you have an extra 125 yards if you want to add an extra row of leaves if you are working the worsted weight version. And the stitch counts for some of these are in here. I won't go and read them all to you, but it talks about for the worsted fingering and worsted weight versions and how that starts to differ, and how you increase the sizes. Now, when you did additional repeats of chart 2, you added 24 stitches to your stitch count. I did 2 additional repeats in chart 2, so I have additional 48 stitches, because 2 times 24 is 48. If you choose to add additional repeats of the leaves, which is rows 15 to 24 in this chart 3, you're going to add another 24 stitches to the total stitch count at the end of chart 3. So just let's keep that in mind as well. So if you do 2 additional repeats, if you do 1 and then do 2 more, that's 2 times 24 will be another 48 stitches to your shawl. Okay, I think we're ready to get into the knitting. I am. That's a lot of talking. For the first row, you guys know I like to do sticky notes to keep me on the right row, so I can easily see that. Let's get started. Let me just say, don't forget, you have yarn over, knit 3, yarn over, slip slip knit, knit 1, and then you start your repeats, which is 1 2 3, knit 4, that's a knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3, yarn over, slip slip knit, knit 1. Repeat those however many times for the size shawl that you're making. And then when we get to the stitches right before the center stitch or the last 2 edge stitches, you have a knit 4, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3, yarn over. But here we go, we're on chart 3. We're going to start with row 1, and we're going to go through all of chart 3. And I'm excited to show this, and I'm excited for the shawl to grow today. Okay, so here we go. Slide the marker. We do a yarn over, knit 3, yarn over, slip slip knit, knit through the back loop of those 2 stitches after you slip them, knit 1. Now here we go again. This is the beginning of chart 3, so your stitch markers are going to change positions. I'm going to grab some stitch markers from over here and move them as we go along. I forgot to put them over here. Alright, so let's put a stitch marker there, knit 4, knit 2 together. See, it falls right where that other one is, so you just pull that off, knit 2 together, or you can go underneath it, but I just drop it off. Alright, yarn over, knit 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. Let me show this a little bit closer and slower. A slip, slip, knit, you slip the first stitch knitwise, slip the second stitch knitwise, knit the 2 stitches together through the back loop. That's all there is to that. And then the last stitch in that repeat is a knit stitch, and then you place your stitch marker. And what I was talking about, each one of these repeats has 12 stitches, so you can just do a double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So that looks good. You didn't miss anything. You can move on. That's the beauty of checking as you go along. So knit 3. No, knit 4. Knit 2 together. Let me show you how you could do that. You could go under the stitch marker like this. The metal ones are not that easy to do, but you can go under the stitch marker like that. Knit the 2 stitches together like that, and then just let the stitch marker fall off like that. If you don't want to move it, and there you go, you have your knit 2 together. Then yarn over 1, 2, 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, put the stitch marker back. Next, repeat, knit 4, knit 2 together, off, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, there you go. Three, 4, if you don't want to do what I just did, just drop it off like that, put that stitch back, knit 2 together, yarn over. That's kind of what I usually do. Going underneath the stitch is a little bit trickier. It can slow you down a little bit. I like to just try to keep it moving because I'm not that fast of a knitter anyway. Knit 1, stitch marker, I am going to put chapters back on this tutorial. That way, if you guys want to move around easy, if you've got a section and you don't want to knit with me, you can skip around easily throughout this tutorial to the place where you need to watch. Again, Linda and I are very happy that you're knitting this along with us. We hope that you're learning a lot of new stuff and having fun. That's what's the most important thing about knitting, is having fun. It's supposed to be a stress reliever, not a stress inducer. So, I'm going to have 9 repeats on each side because, again, I did 7 repeats of chart 2, and then I did chart 2A, and now we're to chart 3, which means I have 9 on each side of this shawl. And I felt like that was a weird 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yep, I just like to double check. Oops. Be careful like that. Don't do what I just did. You could easily drop a stitch. This yarn I'm using is very slick. So if I have a stitch that comes off, sometimes when you're working with wool will grab, it'll grab itself. So if it comes off the needles, it might hold itself together. But this is bamboo. It will just, the stitch will just shoom, and before you know it, it'll be all the way at the bottom. So if you have that type of a yarn that you're using, you want to be careful. Okay, so I'm like on that last section right before I get to the center stitch. So I'm going to be doing these stitches instead of the repeats. I just finished all my repeats. If you want to see how many I have, make sure it's 9. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's another way to double check yourself. So I'm going to be doing this. This is a knit 4, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3, yarn over, then the center stitch. And then we'll do that all over again, because that was just 1/2 of the shawl on the chart. So knit 3, 2, 3, then a yarn over, then we knit the center stitch, then we start all over again. Yarn over, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. And that's what it looks like. You got your stitch markers all placed. You should have 7 repeats if you're doing it just like the pattern says. Alright, so now we're to the row 2. Alright, now row 2 and all even side rows are all done the same. Last time I showed you how to do every one of these. I'm considering just showing you how to do row 2, and if you want to see it over and over again, you can come back to row 2, because rows 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24 are all going to be done this same way. You knit the first 2 stitches, the edge stitches. Now make sure that yarn over stays on the other side of the stitch marker, and then you purl all of the stitches until you get to the last 2 edge stitches. Even purl the center stitch. And I think I'll show this once in the tutorial. I'm going to be knitting it and I can film it, but instead of making this video super long by showing you all the wrong side rows, I think I'll show it once, and I'll just put a header up here. This will be rows 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. And as you know, it's gonna get bigger, but you still just purl those stitches. As the shawl gets bigger is what I'm saying, you know, because you're still doing those increases every right side row. You are on the wrong side. If you have your stitch marker on the right side, you should not be seeing it. This is just a way to get back to the right side. Just slide stitch markers as you come to them if you have them. This is one of those rows you just don't even have to really think about it, which is kind of nice. A little bit of a break, a little bit of a stress relief, because it's a little bit meditative. Center stitch and just purl it and keep on going. These rows start getting longer as your shawl gets bigger, so it takes a lot longer to get from end to end. But that's important because it's how your shawl gets bigger. And again, you don't have to have these stitch markers. I just like to have them because I like to double check, make sure, you know, every once in a while I might drop a yarn over, or I might make a mistake, and it's easy for me to count 12 stitches and figure out where I've made a mistake than it is sometimes to be looking at a whole row. I'm still consider myself a pretty new knitter, you know, 6-7 years versus, you know, 55 years. If I trusted myself a little bit more, I might not use these stitch markers, but I do not trust myself enough yet to not use them, and I just want to make it easier for me when I make a mistake. And notice I said when. Everybody makes mistakes. Just because we're teaching the class doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, because we make mistakes all the time, and everybody does. So if you're making mistakes and having to do stuff over, please don't beat yourself up. This is a learning process. It's how you learn, is when you make the mistakes you learn. You learn, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done this. And don't beat yourself up. It's all part of it. Try to enjoy the process as much as you can. And you know, every time it gets better. Every time the more experience you get, the better it gets. Every time you knit the next one or the next one. We're all very critical of ourselves. We need to give ourselves a little kindness and a little patience and a little understanding. And if this is at a point for, you know, when you're knitting it, if it's to a point where you're frustrated and you're stressed out, I say the best thing you possibly could do is just set it down for a little while and come back to it. Come back to it another day when you're not so stressed out or it's aggravating you or something. Just, like I said, this is supposed to be enjoyable and fun and a little relaxing. And I know when you're learning new things, that takes some of the fun out of it if you're not getting it or if you're making mistakes. But we all learn through our mistakes what not to do. So try to look at it in a positive light, that you're learning and growing in your lace knitting, which is, you know, will take you lots of places if you're interested in doing more of it. This is a fairly simple pattern, very well written, and to get into the more complex laces, this is a really good place to start to learn. So learn from your mistakes, get a really good understanding of charts, how to use them to your advantage, and you know, then you can tackle more advanced, complicated patterns that are only charted, that are complicated. I'm working on a shawl right now that's very complicated. The chart is written like nothing I've ever seen, and it reminds me a lot of Japanese lace. It's got a lot of wrap stitches. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. But I would never jump into that pattern without having tried charts and a shawl like this, because this is more of a teaching pattern. Dee O'Keefe wrote this out extremely well to teach us all how to understand it, understand our stitches, how to use charts to make sure things are lining up, how to use charts to count everything and help us find places where we may have made a mistake, and so on. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to only show this the back wrong side rows once, because this will make this video extremely long, and it will take forever to get edited and uploaded to YouTube. So again, for all wrong side rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. Do them exactly like this. Knit the first 2 stitches, purl all the way to the last 2 stitches. Now we're to the last 2 stitches, slide your stitch marker and knit those last 2 edge stitches. And then you're done with row number 2, or any other wrong side row if that's where you are. Alright, we're to row 3. We're on chart 3, row 3. This is a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. In the repeats, you do knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 4, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 5, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. Then, when you get to the very last section, knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. And let's get started. Knit the 2 edge stitches. Do a yarn over. You always start the row with a yarn over. Knit 2 together. Knit 3. Yarn over, slip, slip, knit. Okay, there you go. There's your first section. Now you're getting into the repeats, the blue shaded section. So knit 3. Knit 2 together. Yarn over. Knit 5. Now I want to just point out, as you can see on the chart, see how this is what I'm talking about, lining it up. Your first knit stitch should be in the yarn over from the previous row. Your last knit stitch should be in the yarn over from the previous row. That's another way to double check yourself, and that's why charts are so important. It makes sure you keep everything lined up. See, I did a yarn over. My first knit stitch was in the yarn over from the previous row, and my last knit stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, was in the yarn over from the previous row below. It just makes sure it shows you how your knitting should look, and helps you keep it all lined up. You have a yarn over, slip, slip, knit, and then that first section's finished. I'll show you again in this next section when we get there. You have a knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over. Now there's a knit 5. The first knit stitch is going to be in the yarn over from the previous row below, and it is. So you know everything's lining up correctly. 3, 4, and the last knit stitch should be in the yarn over from the previous row below, and it is. And that just, by looking at the chart, you can make sure everything's lining up properly. Otherwise, you've got a mistake. That should put off a red flag in your head that something isn't right, and then you can stop right there and try to figure out what it is without going further on down the line. You can fix your mistakes as you go along, instead of knitting a couple of, rows or the whole section and then realizing, oh my goodness, I made a mistake somewhere and I don't know where it is. Charts show you what the pattern is supposed to look like. It also shows you that on, like, there's, it shows you the whole design and how it's going to show you how the leaves are going to look later on when we get into that. And I'll explain that then. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. Okay. I really think once you get to knitting charts, your knitting will get faster, you will make less mistakes. I know that's what I've experienced. I still make mistakes. Maybe I shouldn't say less mistakes. You catch your mistakes a lot faster than I used to. I've had instances where I've even had to frog like 40 rows of knitting. That wasn't a chart issue. That was more of I did one page twice and didn't realize that I had, that I wasn't supposed to do that until I got to the next clue. I was doing a mystery knit along, but still I had to undo 40 rows of knitting. So that was painful. And that's what I'm trying to prevent for you, is by teaching you how to do this. Linda and I both are. knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 5, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. Oops. Alright, see how it all slipped out? Gotta fix that. I dropped the back end of that stitch. Okay, there we go. So slip, slip, knit. Okay. Knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 5, oh, whoops, I was on the last section. Okay, the last section is knit 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, then a slip, slip, knit, yarn over. You know, I was to the last section until I saw those red stitch markers for the center, and then a yarn over. That's why I make them red too, to stand out, so that it reminds me I'm at the center stitch. Yarn over, knit the center stitch, start back at the row again. So a yarn over. So now we're to row 4. I'm not going to show you how to do row 4 because on all the wrong side rows it's just like the row 2 I showed you. If you need to go back and watch it, go ahead, but you're just going to knit the first 2 edge stitches, these. Then you're going to purl all the stitches until you get to the end, and then knit the last 2 edge stitches. I showed you how to do that in row 2, and it'll be that way for row 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. So I'm not going to show you that to save time and make this video be a little bit shorter. You can go back and rewatch row 2. I'll put a timestamp there so you can easily access it if you need to, but they're all done the same way. So next time, or the next part I'll show you will be row 5. Alright, now we're to row 5 of chart 3. This is a yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over. There's a lot of these yarn over, knit, yarn overs in this because you're going to start creating the stem of the leaf. You have a knit, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over. Slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. I think this was the one I was trying to fix. If that helps anybody, I know people were saying they wish they could have seen the whole thing. I think it was this row that I messed up on. Alright. Alright, we're to the first section. We're going to do yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over. All right, now this is the part where Dee O'Keefe was talking about having a problem with this, because this is where, if you have stitch markers, as you can see, you're going to pull one stitch from this one and one stitch from this one. We are going to be doing a slip slip knit, so I'm going to slip it, drop the stitch marker, slip the next stitch, knit those two stitches together, and now you have a yarn over and a slip slip knit on the other side of the stitch marker, like that. You're taking one stitch from one side of the stitch marker and one stitch from the other side of the stitch marker to create this. And that's where she was saying, if you don't want to use stitch markers, that's easier because you're not moving them around all the time, but I prefer to have them. It's totally whatever you want to do. Yarn over, knit, knit two together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over. Check something real quick. Alright, so we're to the part where we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Take one stitch from this side and one stitch from that side of the stitch marker. We're going to be doing a slip slip knit. I just drop it in between slipping the two stitches, and then I do have to take it off and put it in between the yarn over and the slip slip knit. But that's just how I do it. There are a lot of different ways to do it, things in knitting, and I'm sure you can find a faster way to do it. Whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong way on this. Whatever works for you. Another way to check that everything's lining up okay, you do a yarn over knit stitch. This knit stitch, I'm right here. This knit stitch should be lining up in the yarn over from the previous side row, and it did. So that's another way to kind of make sure that you're keeping yourself straight with the chart on all these weird stitches every other, and lots of yarn overs. So, okay, just another way to check. Then you have slip slip knit, knit, yarn over. You could also do this. I have extra stitch markers. You could go ahead and place a stitch marker right there. Just drop that one when you drop it off. Do the slip slip knit, and just make sure that it stays like that. That's probably the easiest, and just have a few extra little stitch markers right there to trade them out. I forgot about doing it that way. See, there's always, again, more than one way to do stuff. So that was a knit, knit two together, yarn over, knit, knit two together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit stitch, yarn over, and there you go. So that's done. Now we do a slip, slip knit, knit, knit two together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, stitch marker, slip, slip, knit, knit them together through the back loop, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, stitch marker, slip, slip, knit, okay, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, into that section, new stitch marker, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, new stitch marker for the next section, and my yarn, there we go, little tangled, there we go. Alright, new section, slip, slip, knit. Oh, I forgot my yarn over. Let me just kind of stick that in before the yarn, there we go, for the stitch marker. I've already twisted those stitches. So slip, slip, knit. Go. Knit. Knit 2 together. Yarn over, knit. Knit 2 together. Yarn over, knit. yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, new stitch marker, slip, slip, knit, okay. Oh, we're on the last section, so let's pay attention to that, Gina. All right, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. And we're to the center section, a center stitch. Knit the center stitch, and then we start it all over again. All right, that's it. We just got to do the last 2 edge stitches. Make sure you do that last yarn over, knit the last 2 edge stitches, and now row 5 is done. For row 6, you go back and do just as like you did for row 2, knit 2 edge stitches, purl all the rest of them, and knit the last 2 edge stitches. So I'll see you next on row 7. You can do row 6 just like you did row 2. All right, now we're ready to do row 7. Just like we always do, right to left. This row does have some beads. You can see the slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over. So it starts out with yarn over, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. You do the repeats, which is yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. Repeat that however many repeats you have. Then the last part before the center stitch or the 2 edge stitches, yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over with a bead. And these 2 have a bead. These slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, knit, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. So let's do it. And I've got my beads over here. I'm just going to use a crochet hook. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, you knit your 2 edge stitches. And then you get started. You do a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. Now you're starting the repeat section. You do a yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together. On the knit 2 stitches together, you're going to place a bead. Just like that. Put it back on your right needle. Take the slip stitch over. Yarn over, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, and knit. And you repeat that for however many times you're doing the repeats. Yarn over, slip one, knit two together, put the bead on this, knit two together, tighten it up, pass the slip stitch over and off, yarn over, knit, knit two together, whoops, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. You can see how it's starting to form. You can see how you get the bead coming at the top of the lines from the sides. It looks really good. You're starting to form another one of those little diamond things right here. Okay. Repeat again, slip, knit two together, bead on there, slip that over, yarn over, knit, knit two together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit, yarn over, slip one, knit two together, add a bead, yarn over, knit, knit two together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. And you just repeat that over and over again. Sometimes you get lucky enough to have it memorized. Not this time. This one's a little bit more complicated, but you get part of it memorized. You can go a little bit faster. Having to look at it the whole time. slip one, knit two together, pass the slip stitch over, knit, knit two together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. Okay, yarn over, slip one, knit two together, add a bead, pass a slip stitch over, yarn over, knit, knit two together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, two together through the back loop, and knit. Again, yarn over, slip one, knit two together, put a bead on the together, okay, tighten that up, pass the slip stitch over and off, knit, knit two together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit. Okay, this is the last section before the center stitch. So you're going to do, you're out of the repeats, you're going to do that last white section on the row. So you do yarn over, slip one, knit two together, put the bead on the knit two together, tighten it up, pass the slip stitch over and off, yarn over, knit one, knit two together, knit one, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, yarn over, and that's it. Now you do the center stitch, just a knit stitch, and you start all over again. Yarn over. So now you're going to do row 8, which is a purl row, just like row 2. When we come back, we'll be on row 9. All right, now we're ready for row 9. All right, well, let's just kind of go through it briefly, quickly. The steps of it, it's a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Start the repeats, which is knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Also want to point out, as you can see, this is starting to line up. The yarn over, knit, yarn overs are all lining up, so you should be having knitting into your knit stitches right there. You should see that, and I'll point that out when we get there. Knit the rest of this row, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over. Again, that's lining up. Knit 2, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. let's get started. Oh, and this is again, remember, this again is just 1/2 of the shawl. You'll repeat this again. Knit the 2 edge stitches. Let's go ahead and get started here. Yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over. As you can see how that's all lining up, all the knit stitches are lining up, and you have the yarn overs lining up on each side like it shows in the chart. Knit, knit, slip, slip, knit 2 together. Alright, now we're going on to the repeat section. We'll do that for however many repeats. If you're doing it per pattern, 7, I have 9 on each side. Alright, so knit 3, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over again. Let me just point out that's where all the knit stitches are in a line, so you're seeing it line up. Your knit stitches should all be in that knit stitch. So yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, knit. Repeat that for however many times. Let's just keep it going. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit together to the back loop. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit them together through the back loop. There you go. Knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Knit 3, knit knit 2 together, oops, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Oops, there we go. All right, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit. Alright, I'm not sure where I am. I have one more repeat and then the last section. So knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit them together through the back loop. Alright, that was the last repeat on this side. So now we're going to do this white section here before the center stitch. So knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, and then the last yarn over on this side, and then your center stitch, which you just slip the marker, knit the center stitch, slip the marker. Now you start this all over again, because remember, this is just half the shawl. You do the same thing all over again. You just go back and repeat what I just showed you for this row on the second half of the shawl. And when you get to the end, you won't be at the center, you'll be at the end, and you'll just knit the two edge stitches, which are right here on the edge. Alright, we're to row 11. Let's just look at it for a minute. Yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over again. These knit stitches are going to all line up, so double check yourself when you're there. Knit 3. Then we start the repeats. Slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together. Knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. Then slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. Alright, let's do it. And then you do it all over again, because that's just one half of the shawl. So let's go ahead and get into it and knit row 11. Remember, the edge stitches are just knit, knit. And again, I'm just going to show one half of the shawl, because when you get to the center, you go back and you start when you get to the center, you go back and you start all over again. And this video is starting to get pretty long, so I'm just going to start showing just the center, just to the center stitches, and you can go back and hit rewind or to the start of the center section. All right, so yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, and like I said, all those knit stitches are lining up. You're knitting all into the knit stitches, so you can see that right there. So another way to double check yourself. Knit 3, all right, so the next, it looks like you have 1 stitch left over, and then you're going to be doing so that stitch is going to go into the next section. You're going to be doing a slip knit, and I should have done the little stitch marker thing that I usually do. I'll show that in the next time. I'll just put this one right there for now. Knit, knit 2 together, one, 2, 3, yarn over, knit. Remember the knit stitches, you're knitting into all the knit stitches, yarn over, make sure it lines up, knit 3, 1, 2, 3. You have 1 stitch left over. That's going to go into the next section. So I'm going to grab an extra stitch marker, put it there, do my slip knit, sorry, I'm having trouble grabbing that for some reason. It happens. There we go. All right, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. Pick up that stitch marker, slip that stitch, drop that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop. Then do a knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. Pick up that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, drop that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. Pick up that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, drop that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, pick up that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, drop that stitch marker, slip the next stitch, knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3. Slip, slip, knit. Knit. Knit 2 together. Knit 3. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, that stitch marker, slip, slip knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, pick up that stitch marker, slip, slip knit, and this I think is also the last section, so we're out of the repeats. Yep, we're right before the center section. So slip, slip knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, slip, slip knit, yarn over. Now we're to the center section, knit the center stitch, start all over again. So yarn over, knit 2 together, go back and start at the beginning of this section, and watch it because you do this half, that's the same as you just did the first half. It's just when you get to the end, you'll knit the 2 end stitches. We're about to do row 13. This is what it looks like. I will point out also that it has the slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, which are beaded stitches. So you want to make sure you have your beads and your crochet hook handy. But if you want to read this row, remember we work from right to left. It's yarn over, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 6, yarn over, knit 3. Then you start the repeats. You do a knit 1, a slip-on knit 2, pass a slip stitch over, put a bead on it, knit 4, yarn over, knit 3. That's the repeat. Then when you get to the last section right before the center stitch or right before the last two edge stitches, you do a knit, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass a slip stitch over, put a bead on that stitch, knit 4, yarn over, knit 2, 3, 4, knit 6, yarn over. And that is row 13, which is what we're going to do today. Let me grab my beads and my crochet hook. Just gonna throw a few right there. And let's get started. All right, let's get going here. As you can see, we're starting to make these little, you can see the leaves starting to form here. You can see your knitting. Those are those yarn over, knit yarn overs. And that's what you're looking for. That is actually going to shift a little bit here in a little bit, but that's what we're working on, are making these beautiful large leaves. And that's what the title of this section is, large leaves. Now, just as a reminder, you only have to knit this once. You don't have to knit this multiple times. If you only want to knit this once, you can knit it once. Let's get started. You knit the 2 edge stitches here. And then alright, you knit the 2 edge stitches, do a yarn over, knit 6. And then you do yarn over, knit, yarn over. The knit stitch is still lining up in that part of the knitting that is becoming the spine of the leaf. Then you do a yarn over, knit 3, and that's the end of that section. You have 1 stitch left, so this is also one of those sections where you need a little extra stitch marker or 2 so that you could change that out. So I'm just going to put a new stitch marker there, and then the next stitch is a knit stitch. Then you drop that stitch and you do a slip 1, knit 2 together. On the knit 2 together, you put a bead, put it back on the stitch, slip the stitch over. Scoot that down a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Now I can come down a little bit. All right, we just put a bead on the slip 1, knit 2, pass the slip stitch over. Now we're going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over. Again, those knit stitches line up in that thing that's the spine, and then knit 3, and you're going to have 1 stitch left over that you're going to use in the next section. Now, if you're not using stitch markers, it's not a deal that you have to worry about. I like to use stitch markers because it keeps me straight throughout my whole project. I've said that a million times. Drop that, slip, knit 2 together, put a bead on the knit 2 together. I don't think I put enough beads over here. I'm going to need 10 per side. That doesn't look like 10 per side. Alright, pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. A lot of knitting in this one, which is kind of fun, right? Alright, put the slip stitch there, knit that stitch as first stitch of the next section, drop that, slip, knit 2 together, put a bead on the knit 2 together, go, slide that, slip that stitch over, okay, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3. Stitch marker, knit 1. You're forming the top of that triangle at each side above that one, and it should line up. As you, another way to check yourself is that this bead is going to be on the same line as this bead, as the same line as this bead, so they should all line up. It's another way to kind of read your knitting and check yourself. If that's not happening, you got some sort of mistake in here, and you should go back and try to figure it out before you move any further, because it's a lot easier to undo this little bit of knitting than it is to wait till you get to the very end of the row. So let's keep going. We've got that. Let's do a slip 1, knit 2 together, put a bead on that knit 2 together, pass a slip stitch over that. I'm not worried about that. It'll work itself out in the blocking. All right, let's knit 4. Yarn over, knit, yarn over. And see how that knit is lining up again on that spine. And knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Put a new stitch marker. Knit 1. Drop that stitch marker. Slip 1. Knit 2 together. Put a bead on the stitch. Slip it over. Knit 4. It's really weird to be knitting this section because usually before a slip 1, knit 2 together, you have a yarn over before and after, and it feels weird not to have a yarn over before and after on this one. So if you're, make sure you're not putting a yarn over before after. It's really easy to drop it if you do, but you don't in this one. You're just culminating all of those stitches below that are creating a diagonal. All right, we need a stitch marker. Knit 1, drop that one, slip 1, knit 2 together. Whoops. So if you're watching this and you're in this point, if you could let Linda and myself know if you liked these tutorials, that would be helpful moving forward for any other collaboration we'll be doing like this. Do you like them in full length, or do you just like them portioned? This one's going to be a little more portioned. because it is such a long video. I'm only going to show you the first half of the row, and that's just you guys can do the rewind it for the second half and then for the repeats. And I hope that's okay. I really wanted to do the full-length tutorial, but for time's sake, and also the video will be way too long to put up onto YouTube. It'll be hours and hours long to do that. So, knit 4, then you do a yarn over, knit yarn over, knit 3, put a new stitch marker, knit 1, slip 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, 2, 3, knit 1, slip 1, knit 2 together, put a bead on, knit 1 together, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 1, 2, 3. All right, looks like I'm almost to, I'm on the last section before my center stitch, so I'm going to look at that knitting, and that is very similar. I'll put that new stitch marker in it. The first stitch is a knit stitch. The next stitch is still a slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over with a bead. So we'll do that. Put that back on. Slip that over, knit 4, oops, yarn over, knit, yarn over, then you do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, okay, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then all your stitches should be gone. You put a yarn over before the center stitch, knit the center stitch, slip that stitch marker, and you start all the way back over here again. So I'm not going to show this again. I'm just repeating what I just have shown you. If you want to knit along with me, go back again to the beginning of this section for row 13, and we're just going to repeat this again. But when you get to the end on the edge stitches, just you know the routine by now. All you have to do is just knit those 2 edge stitches. So wrong side row. So row 14, you're going to do just like you do row 2 and all the other even numbered wrong side rows. When I come back, we'll be on row 15, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so I'm about to start row 15. I'm going to weigh my yarn because I want to figure out how much yarn it takes to do 1 repeat of rows 15 through 24, because I want to do additional repeats. I would like to do 2 additional repeats, but I think I only have enough yarn for 1 additional repeat, so I'm going to weigh my yarn before I start row 15, weigh my yarn at the end of row 24, and see how much it took me to knit that approximately, and then weigh my yarn and see if I have enough yarn to maybe do 2 more repeats and chart 4. So it is a little bit of a guesstimate, but I do think this is a little bit more better guess than just looking at it and guessing. All right, now I've weighed this. This is 68 grams. So 68 grams is left so far. So let me put that back down in my bag. All right, so I've shown you guys earlier that my yarn is dye, Diana dye. It's 150 grams per 694 yards. So to calculate how much yard I have left, I'm going to do just a proportional calculation. You do 694 times 68 equals 47,192, and then to solve for x, you divide that number by 150, and that'll tell me how many yards I have left. 314.6 yards is left in my, approximately, in my skein of yarn that I just weighed. So, I probably need about 100 yards for chart 4, 100 to 125 yards for the bind off, and that will leave you, or me, excuse me, let's just subtract out 125, 189 yards for these rows. So I'm going to see how much it takes to knit it 1 time. I'm thinking it's probably, I'm only going to be able to do it twice, but let's just see. I thought it'd be interesting to share this with you guys as well, just so you can see how I do the process, and you guys can do it as well. All right, let me put that there. We're going to start row 15. All right, let me get things situated. Again, I'm only showing the first half of the row because the second half is just the same, and this video has gotten really long. So when I get to the center section, I'm going to stop. And if you guys want to watch it again, just go back to the beginning of that section and watch it, because it's going to be the same thing over again. But let's just talk through chart 15 real quick. It's a yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over. That's a little bit of a weird rhythm, so make sure you pay attention to it. Then a slip, slip, knit. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, knit 7, knit 2 together. Then you start the repeats. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. I think this is going to be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 7, knit 2 together. Repeat that however many times you have your repeats for. Then right before the center and the last 2 edge stitches, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 7, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. All right, let's get started on row 15. Again, I'll just show you half of it, and let's get going. So you knit the 2 edge stitches. Start with a yarn over, always. Whoops. Come back here, stitch marker. All right. So knit. Whoops, it's a yarn over. Knit 2 together, which knit 2 together, just like it sounds, knit the next 2 stitches together, just like that. It's right leaning decrease, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you have a, let me double check that. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I'm going to be straddling that stitch marker again, which is why she recommends not using stitch markers. I still prefer them. I just drop it and do the slip, slip, knit, pick it back up. All right, then now we're to the repeat sections. We do a yarn over, knit, yarn over. A way to double check yourself is that knit stitch is going to be in the stitch that was beaded down below. So double check it. It is. Make sure you're lining things up correctly. And what I'm talking about is on the chart here. See how this knit stitch has to be above that beaded slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over. So that's why charts are your friends. All right, so you do a yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit them together through the back loop. Then you do a knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 2 together, just drop that off. Knit 2 together, pick it back up. All right. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 1, 2, whoops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I must have done something wrong. All right, hold on, because I know that I'm going to have 1 stitch left, so let's just check something here. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I have some sort of mistake here from the previous row. Yep, it looks like on the previous row, you can see how I did my slip 1, knit 2 together. I did not pass. When I did the beaded stitch, I did not slip that stitch over. So this is good. You guys will see a little bit of lace surgery. All right, what I'm going to undo is I'm going to undo that stitch there. And I'm going to undo, this is just undoing the wrong side row, which is that stitch there. So I got the wrong side row out. All right, so it was a slip stitch, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over. So I did not do that. There we go. So now all I have to do for this is to do the wrong side row, which is this back right here, and it's a purl on the wrong side, so it's a knit on the right side. Now I fixed my stitch, and now I should have the right number of stitches. So that. And now, see, that's how charts can help you realize that you've made some sort of mistake. All right, so I've done 7. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. Now we do a, let's double check it, 2, 4, 6, 7, right there. Oops, wrong. It's going to be a slip, slip, knit. I'm trying to knit 2 together. Slip, slip, knit them together. There you go. Now we start the repeat of this next section. Yarn over, knit, yarn over. Another way to double check it, I should be in that beaded stitch. I am for that knit. Awesome. Kind of glad I made a mistake so you guys could see how I could correct that easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How I could correct that easily without having to even undo a row. Alright, knit 2 together. Alright, yarn over, knit, yarn over, whoops, slip, slip, knit, getting ahead of myself here. Knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, knit 2 together, so let's drop that off. There we go. Pick that back up. That section's finished. Let's continue on. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, knit 2 together. All right, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 2 together. Next, repeat, yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 2 together. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7. So now I have another mistake. Maybe I dropped a yarn over. Yep, that's exactly what I did. As you can see right there, I made another mistake because I should have had a stitch left over after I knitted all those 7 stitches. So let's go back and fix it. I hope you guys don't mind allowing me that luxury. It'll show you how I fix a yarn over easily. I have a missing yarn over right here. It's very easy to fix. Let me just undo this stitch too. And right here is where I should have a yarn over. What I like to do when I'm missing a yarn over is I grab a crochet hook. It's very easy. You have to go down 2 ladders. This is where your yarn over would have been. The next stitch, hold on, these are twisted. There's 2 here that are twisted. So this is a little bit more complicated, but you can see it's just fine. All right, this is the missing yarn over, and this is the purl that goes through it. So I pull it through like that, and that creates the yarn over that I missed on the previous row and the wrong side row. It creates the yarn over on the right side, the purl through the back on the wrong side, and now I should have enough stitches. So let's see, we were right here, so we did knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you do a knit 2 together, and then you put a stitch marker, and now you have a yarn over, knit, yarn over, and just to make sure I'm doing it right, my knit has to line up in the stitch that was beaded down below, and it does. So I fixed my knitting right there in situ again. So see, I make mistakes all the time. I have to go back and I have to fix things and see things, but usually the charts help me, and knowing the stitch counts in each little section does. So it's kind of why I'm glad you've seen these and see how I can fix them easily. 4, 5, 6, 7. And that way you don't have to undo all of your knitting. It's something you can, usually you can fix little stitches like that right there. If you can read your knitting, read your chart, undo it with crochet hook, fix it. And it saves you a lot of time, a lot of frustration. All right, we are on the last section because we're right here. You can see my center stitches. So we're going to do a yarn over, knit, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. We're going to knit 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a knit 2 together, a yarn over, knit, yarn over, and then a slip, slip knit, and then last but not least, a yarn over. And then you have your center stitch, which is just a knit. And then, my friends, you start all over again. So I'm not going to show that. You just can go back to the beginning of this section and follow it, and forgive the mistakes I have in there. But just follow that to the end, and when you get to the end, just know instead of doing the center stitch, you'll be doing just the 2 little edge stitches, knit edge stitches. So I will see you all back. Row 16 is done with row 16 is done just like row 2. Remember, it's knit 2, purl all the rest of the stitches until you get to the last 2 and knit 2. So you can watch row 2 for row 16. I will see you guys on row 17. We're to row 17 now. Just going to go over this briefly. Again, you're going to redo this twice, so I'm only going to show it once. We'll do the center stitch, and then you'll come back over here and repeat this again, and then you'll do the 2 edge stitches. So 2 edge stitches. In this section, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over. These knits are going to line up over each other. Say knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, I did count that right. Okay, so then the beginning of the repeats is yarn over, knit, yarn over. These knit stitches are going to line up. Yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit. Repeat that for however many repeats you have. And right before the center stitch or the edge stitches, you have this yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. Then your center stitch or your edge stitches. If you're at the center, you come back and repeat that again. I'm only going to show this one time. So if you are at the center stitch, just go back and watch it again to get, if you want to knit along with me. Okay? All right, let's get started on row 17. All right, we are getting really close to finishing this chart. It's very long. Thank you for hanging in there with me. So you knit your 2 edge stitches. Give me a second and see where I am in my camera. I think I need to be a little bit closer down here. All right, so knit your 2 edge stitches, slip my stitch marker, yarn over to start the row, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, and again, the knit stitches are going to line up, like I said, and that's what that looks like there. You can see how the knit stitches are all lining up right there. Knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I have those 2 stitches stuck together. 5. Then you have a knit 2 together. The next one, and then you have a knit stitch. And then you pick that back up. That finishes that first section. To start it, you do a yarn over, knit, yarn over, just to double check and make sure that's correct. The knit stitches line up. They're in that beaded stitch, so that looks good. So now you know you're going to be, that's a knit. You're going to be borrowing a stitch from each section for the next section. That's a slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit into that section, put your stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit. That section's finished. Stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit, finishes that section, put your stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get a little bit more scooched down, knit 2 together, knit. That section's finished. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, and knit. Finishes that section, stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit. Finishes that section, put your stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit. Put that back, start the next section, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit. Oh, I'm on the last section, see, because you can see my center stitch markers. So yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, slip, knit, then a yarn over, and then you're done with that first part. You're at the center section, you do a yarn over at the end, knit the center stitch, and start all over again from this side. Go all the way over through it again. I just showed you, so go back to the beginning of the section if you want to knit it along with me. When you get to the end, you'll just be knitting those 2 edge stitches. One other thing, just as a double check for yourself when you're doing these, you know each section is supposed to have 12 stitches, so count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. If you are using stitch markers, that's another reason why I like it, because it keeps me all in check. Like, you've seen me make mistakes and I can correct them right on the fly, because I know that I should have like 1 stitch left, or I should be pulling another stitch from another section. It just helps me. I'm a newer knitter, and it helps me keep everything on track. So go ahead, finish the rest of this row, and go ahead and do row 18, which is just like row 2. You do knit 2 edge stitches, purl all the rest of them, and then knit the last 2 edge stitches, and then I'll see you back for, what row am I on? Row 19. We'll be on row 19, okay? Okay, here we go. We're ready to do row 19. Welcome back. Let's take a look at this real quick. Again, I'm only going to go show this first half. When you get to the center stitch, you'll come back and start it again. Just a reminder, this starts out with a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, and these knit stitches should be lining up. Just a reminder, read your knitting, read your chart. So yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2. Then you start the repeat sections, yarn over, knit, yarn over. Those knit stitches should be lining up over that beaded stitch down here. Then you have a knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2, together, knit 2. That's the repeat. Then when you get right before the center stitch or the edge stitches, you have a yarn over, knit, yarn over. Those line up. Knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2, knit 2 together. I'm sorry, knit 2 together, knit 2. Yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. Then you repeat it again. All right, let's get going. Row number 19. Here we go, here we go, here we go. You can see the leaves starting to form, and I'll show you that after I get through this. Okay, we knit the 2 edge stitches. Then you start out with a yarn over, like you always do every row. You do a knit 2 together. Then you do a knit 2. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, and as you can see, like I said, these are all lining up, so maybe double check yourself. Knit 2, slip, slip, knit those 2 together through the back loop. Knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, okay, then you do a yarn over, knit, yarn over. Those knit stitches are lining up over that beaded stitch per the chart. You do knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, and I didn't point out the last one, but you are taking a stitch from the next section if you are using stitch markers. So I'm dropping that off, knitting the second stitch, putting the stitch marker back on, starting the next section with a yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, whoops, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2. Alright, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, and now I have a knit 2 together, and you can see I have made a mistake somewhere because I'm gonna be a stitch short. So let me undo this section and figure this out real quick. And let's see if maybe I missed a yarn over somewhere. Nope, not there. Maybe. Nope. Oh, there it is at the very beginning. No, 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 that's over there. Okay, this one's a little more complicated, so let's just figure it out. I'm going to undo this section. Obviously, I did something wrong in this section previously. Let's just see what I did. Alright, the yarn over is there. Knit yarn over. So I'm looking down at the previous row below. Row 17. Then I have a knit. Knit 2 together, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a slip, slip, knit. I'm sorry, I knit 2 together. Forgive me. I knit 2 together, then a knit. I'm missing a knit stitch. So I think what it is, honestly, is that this should be starting with a knit, yarn over, knit. So what I have is my stitch marker just slipped over, 1 over. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Right, so this stitch should be on that side. I don't have any mistakes. I just had my stitch marker slip over. So let's go back and redo this section again. Yarn over, knit, yarn over. That's how you figure out where you made mistakes. And I like to show this because I make mistakes all the time. And I don't want you to think that I don't, because I do. Let's see, it was a slip, slip, knit. Knit 3. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. Knit 2. There we go. Alright, so now let me just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yep, that's right. So now we go yarn over to the next section. And I should be knitting in that line of knit stitches, and I am. So that's back on track. Knit 2. Slip, slip, knit. Knit 3. 1, 2, 3. knit 2 together, knit 2, drop that, knit that stitch, put your stitch marker back. Now that section's complete. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, excuse me, knit 2 together, knit 2, okay, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, that section's done, stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, that section is done. Let's see how many more I have before. Okay, one more before that last section. So yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, okay, this is the last section before the center stitch. So yarn out, go to the white part of the last part of the row, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, knit 2 together, I'm sorry, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. That's it. That's the end of that row 17 for one time through. You do a yarn over, then you knit the center stitch, then you go all the way back to the right side and start all over again. I'm not going to show you the second half. It's just like the first half, except for when you get to the end, you'll just knit the last 2 knit stitches. Then you'll do row 20, which is a wrong side row, just like you did row 2. Go back and watch row 2, knit 2, purl all the stitches, knit the last 2 edge stitches. So the next time I see you, we'll be on row 21. All right, we're back. Now we're to row 21. We're almost getting done with this. We're at the end of it. All right, here we go. Not the exact end, but next to the last row on the right side. here we go. This is going to be row 21. You're going to do a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over. Again, these are lining up, these knit stitches, so look for that. Knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3. Okay, we start the repeat section here. Yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3. Then when you get to right at the last part of it, yarn over, knit, yarn over. Again, these are lining up, these knit stitches, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, yarn over. Let's do it. Row 21. Yeehaw! Again, I'm only going to show 1/2 of the row because this is 1/2. This is 1/2 of the whole shawl, the row. So when you get to this part right here, you're going to be at the center stitch. You knit the center stitch, you come back and repeat it again, and you can just rewind it. So I'll just show 1/2 of it for time's sake because this video is already getting very, very long. So here we go. Knit the 2 edge stitches. Start with a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over. These knit stitches are supposed to line up as they are. Alright, knit 3, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, a knit stitch, a knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, 2, gonna have to borrow a stitch from the next section, 3, put your stitch marker back, to yarn over, knit, yarn over, the knit stitches are lining up, knit 3, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, step back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, and you are borrowing that last stitch from the previous row, previous section. Stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 3, oh, whoops, was not paying attention, yarn over, knit, yarn over, okay, and I have a mistake, hold on one second, let's see, Looks like I did here. Okay, knit 2, that was it. Knit 3, should go there. All right, yarn over, knit, yarn over. I caught that because I know those knit stitches have to line up. 1, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, 2, 3. That section's completed. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 3, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, uh-oh, 2, 3. Okay, I started getting really goofy on that row. Brain's trying to get ahead of myself. All right, so yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3. I did a slip, slip, knit, 1 stitch too late. So undo those. I'm gonna leave it twisted. That stitch should be part of the slip, slip, knit. So slip, slip, knit together. The next stitch is twisted, so I'm gonna have to turn it and then knit it. Then you do a knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Done with that section, yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, 1, 2, 3. All right. Yarn over, knit, yarn over. I'm on the last section, so I've got my center stitches there. So do the part that's white, yarn over, knit 3, slip, slip, knit, knit, knit 2 together, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, do a yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, a slip, slip, knit, yarn over, and that's 1/2 of your row. Knit the center stitch, start all over again, so you go back to the beginning of that row, and you can rewind it and rewatch it again. When you get to the edge, do the two edge stitches, and then on the next row, which will be row 22, you do it as a wrong side row, like row 2. Go watch that if you need to. It's just knit 2 edge stitches, purl all the rest of the stitches, knit to the last 2 edge stitches. When I come back, we'll be on the last row, row 23, and you will need beads for that row. All right, here we go. We are to the last row. Now again, let me say, you only have to do this chart one time. You don't have to do it multiple times. This is only if you want to make your shawl bigger. There is an opportunity to repeat rows 15 through 24 to give extra leaves. And I'm going to do probably one more repeat, and I can show you what that looks like. I'll also show you where this starts if you want to think about maybe adding an extra piece to it here in just 1 second. We are on the last row, row 23. This is yarn over, knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yarn over, knit 4, a slip 1, knit 2 together, pass a slip stitch over with a bead, knit 4, yarn, then we start the repeats, yarn over, knit 4, slip 1, knit 2, put a bead on it, pass a slip stitch over, knit 4. That's the repeat. Then right before the end, or right before the center stitch, you do this yarn over, knit 4, slip 1, knit 2, put a bead on it, pass a slip stitch over, knit 4, yarn over, knit 6, yarn over. And if you're doing this chart, or you're doing your pattern just like she wrote with 5 repeats on chart 2, 1 repeat on this, you will end up with 255 stitches at the end of this chart. I am going to have more than that. I did 2 extra repeats of chart 2, which each repeat was 24 stitches. So I have 48 extra because I did 2. So I should end up with 303 stitches at the end of this. And I'll do a count and see where I get. And if you do an extra repeat of rows 15 through 24, you'll add an extra 24 stitches to your total. Let's get started here. All right, knit the 2 edge stitches. Let's do a yarn over, knit 6. Okay, sorry, I got this all kind of discombobulated here. 1 second. Okay, so knit 6, yarn over, knit, yarn over. That knit stitch should be lining up with the knit stitches below, so double check yourself, and that one is. So you're doing that's a good sign. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you do a slip 1, knit 2 together, I add the bead on the knit 2 together, and then I tighten it back up, pass the slip stitch over and off that left needle, and then knit 4, and then that first part of that row is done. Alright, so we have 3 stitches left in that section, so we're going to be grabbing a stitch from the next section. Put your stitch marker back. That first section is done. Now we're going to be doing a yarn over, knit, yarn over. The knit's going to line up with the knits below, and it does. That's another good way to check yourself. Knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do a slip 1, knit 2 together, add the bead to the knit 2 together, tighten that up. Ooh, I really pulled that out, didn't I? Alright, tighten that up, pass the slip stitch over, knit 4. I have 3 stitches left, so I'm going to pull 1 stitch from that next section, so drop that, knit the last stitch, put my stitch marker back. That first section repeat is done, so you start it over again, yarn over, knit, yarn over. The knit stitches line up, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip 1, knit 2 together, put a bead on the knit 2 together, I also want to point something out after I put this back over and pass the slip stitch over. So put that back on, tighten it up, pass the slip stitch over. This is another way to check your knitting. On your chart, as you can see, you have this line of knit 2 togethers and this line of slip stitch knits culminating in that slip 1, knit 2, pass the slip stitch over. It should make a triangle. You should see that happening on your knitting, and here may be one that's been completed. You can see that line is the knit 2 togethers, that line is the slip slip knit, and it's ending with that stitch at the very top, beaded. And that's going to be the end of that section. I'll explain the rest of it. I was going to say there at the end. So after you do that slip stitch, you do 4 knit stitches, 1, 2, 3. Next one comes from the next section. Put your stitch marker back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4. Slip 1, knit 2 together, put a bead on that slip stitch, the knit 2 together, sorry. Brain and my tongue are not connecting today, which is not a good thing when you're filming. It's optimal when your brain and your tongue work together. Knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that back, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip 1, knit 2 together, bead on the slip stitch, the knit 2 together. I have to hold my stitch at the bottom because this yarn is very slick. If I just let it go, the stitches would just slide all over the place. That's because this is a bamboo yarn. Pass the slip stitch over, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4th stitches from the next section. Stitch marker, finish that section. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip 1, knit 2 together, put the bead on the knit 2 together, tighten it up, pass the slip stitch over and off the right-handed needle. Go, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That section's finished. Let's see where we are. We still got quite a ways to that center section. Let's just keep going. Yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip 1, knit 2 together, put the bead on the knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, knit 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4, slip 1, knit 2 together, put the bead on the knit 2 together, knit 4, okay, yarn over. Okay, I'm on the last section before the center stitch, so I'm in the white part now, so it's yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, do a slip 1, knit 2 together, bead the knit two together. Pass the slip stitch over, knit 4, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There you go. The last stitch is a yarn over, then you knit the center stitch, and then you go back to the beginning of the row and you start all over again. And I've shown you how to do that, so you can go back to the beginning of the section and start over if you want to knit along with me. And when you get to the end, you just knit the 2 edge stitches, and then you got to do row 24, which is a wrong side row, knit 2, purl, the rest of the stitches, knit 2, done just like row 2. So go watch row 2 if you want to see that again. And then you'll be done with section chart 3. If you're only going to do the chart one time, you will be done after you finish row 24. I will have a wrap up after I get through with my row 24. I'm going to show you how I'm going to figure out if I'm going to do another repeat, how that will work. So I will see you when I get there. Alright, so I just finished row 24, chart 3. This is what it looks like. You can see started right here. It's from here up. That's what section 3 looks like, chart 3 looks like. If you only have to do this one time per the way she wrote the pattern. But this is a place where if you want to make your shawl bigger, you can. And what you will do is you will repeat from rows 15 through 24 one more time. Now, I wasn't sure exactly how much yarn that utilizes. So what I did was I weighed my yarn at the beginning of before I started row 15. And I got 68 grams. When you do the math, it comes out to 315 yards. After I finished row 24, I weighed my yarn again. I got 58 grams, so I used about 10 grams of yarn. That's this 58 grams per my type of yarn, which is 150 grams per 694. 58 grams is 268.34 yards. I'm doing some math here. So I subtracted 314 minus 268 to tell me how much yardage I used for rows 15 to 24 on average. And I did 314 minus 268, 46 yards for rows 15 to 24. Doing the math at 58 grams, 268 yards, I have left. If I want to do another repeat, and that would take about 40, let's just say 50 yards, just to round it up. So I have 268 minus 50, that will leave me with 218, which should be plenty to do chart 4. I'm thinking for chart 4, you need probably 125 yards, maybe to 150 yards. So I'm thinking I could possibly do the chart the rows 15 through 24 2 more times, because that would be 100 yards to do it twice. 100 from 268 would be 118. Is that right? No, 106. Sorry, 268 minus 100 is 168, and that should be enough to do chart 4. So I could do rows 15 through 24 2 more times and make my shawl extra big. And it's really basically repeating from this part here, so you're just making these leaves a little bit bigger, and what it corresponds to on your chart is from here above, and it'll probably be staggered because it'll move a little bit, but that's what you're going to be adding to it, making larger leaves, and then it'll end with a scallop. So I think I might do it twice more. If I add additional repeats, I will show you that here in a little bit at the end of this. And alright, I've repeated this chart 3 once, and now I repeated rows 15 through 24 again, and this is what it looks like. I just did my math on my thing for everything. I have 45 grams of yarn left. You do the math, I still have 208 yards of yarn, which is probably enough. The last time I did a repeat was 13 grams of yarn, and that corresponds to about 60 something yards. So I probably have enough to do another repeat of rows 15 through 24. Okay, this is the last part of this. Again, you only have to do this one time. I went ahead and I did it 3 times. That's what it looks like with one repeat. As you can see here at the bottom, this purple part, you can see the leaves one time with the scallops. The scallops is chart 4. Right, this is what it looks like. I did chart 2. This is the transition to chart 3, and then I did 3 full repeats of chart 3, and that's what it's looking like. You can see all the additional leaves it added. And now all I have to do is chart 4. Last night when I weighed my shawl after the 3rd repeat, I ended up having 29 grams of yarn left. And when you do the math, that's like 134 yards, which I think should be enough for chart 3 repeat. Now that I might be cutting it a little close, because I have, I think 120 to 100 yards, 125 yards to do chart 4 is about right when your shawl is normal size. And my shawl has added some stitches. Now, that was the other thing I want to talk about. For the stitch count, if you did it normally where you did 5 repeats of chart 2, 1 repeat of chart 3, your stitch count's going to be the 255 right there. Now I had 2 additional repeats of chart 2, which added, each repeat added 24 stitches. For this one, I did 2 additional repeats of chart, or not the whole chart, I just repeated rows 15 through 24 twice. So each additional repeat of rows 15 through 24 adds 24 stitches. So I've got to add another 48 stitches to my stitch count. So basically for chart 2, I was at 303. If I had only repeated chart 3 one time. Since I repeated rows 15 through 24 twice, you add 48 stitches more. So 303 and 48, my stitch count should be 351 stitches. I did a stitch count, and it is. So there you go. That's how you can calculate your stitch counts. Now I'm ready to move on to chart 4. Miss Linda Simpson's going to be doing the tutorial for that. We'll be doing the live Q&A on my channel for chart 3 on October the 16th. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email Linda or me, or put comments down below, or post in the Facebook group, and we'd be glad to help you through this, because we want you guys to be successful. Again, you only have to do this once, and this chart once, if that's all you want, and it still turns out to be a really beautiful shawl. It will look just like this picture here if you do it once. So, or like this. This is done one time, and all you would have left is chart 4 with the scallops added. And it's still a beautiful big shawl. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was a longer one, and but I believe showing you every row and the setup of the repeats is very useful. So thank you for watching that. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give me a thumbs up. If you are new here and you watch this video, we would love to have you join our family. We talk about knitting and crochet, and we'd love to have you join us. For those of you who watch my videos time and time again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you all very, very soon.